Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Tips. I'm your host, Marin Smith, content manager here at Grow Schools. And as usual, we're here Tuesdays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for 10 minutes discussing the biggest challenges facing school leaders. And this week, we're welcoming Niki. Hi, Niki. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Marin.
How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Good.
Wonderful. I'm happy to be here.
Good. Yeah, always good to talk with you. We're going to discuss school websites that drive enrollment today. And Niki, I've heard you talk a lot about how a website is the first impression families get when they're thinking of going to your school. And so getting it right is crucial for enrollment success. And it's also on 24/7, either to attract or ideally not repel prospective families. And so unlike social media or print materials, the website really needs to serve multiple audiences daily, all the time. And so understanding how to structure that content and optimize it for mobile, which I know you're going to talk about, and create sort of clear pathways to enrollment specifically can really transform it from hanging your shingle or a digital brochure to actually this empowerment enrollment tool. So I'm excited to hear your tips for school leaders today. And we'll start with this question, which is what content should schools feature prominently during different enrollment seasons throughout the year?
Absolutely. And that's a great question. And by the way, I've been designing sites for over 20 years. This is something I'm passionate about talking. So hopefully these tips are helpful. But in terms of enrollment, I know that can be challenging because we feel like we're always in an enrollment season now. But typically you could break it down like this, like October through February is typically peak application season when your homepage needs to be super focused. So school websites that are the deciding factor for over half of families making their final enrollment decisions during this time. So during this window, you want to make sure you have those clear application deadlines, the unique differentiators of your school front and center, success stories and testimonials, and making sure those apply now buttons are easy to find. Now, during March through May, that's when families have typically applied and they're making final choices. So you can adjust your homepage to have more information about virtual tours and video content, program information, and academic offerings. Again, parent and student testimonials about their experience at their school, and clear next steps for families who have accepted. And you might think things go quietly more in the summer, but that's when an opportunity you have to build relationships with incoming families and keeping your current families and students engaged. So you can include welcome information for new families, summer program highlights, community event announcements, preparation materials for the next year. So one thing that's emphasized in the existing Grow Schools Create a Successful Website Guide, which is available on the website, is this principle that your website should balance these statistics with storytelling throughout the whole year. So while sharing the numbers and tests are important, it's this opportunity you have to continuously make an emotional connection through your site, through the authentic stories you share about real families and students and experiences at the school. So, and you also want to make sure you keep all of your audiences in mind across the year, whether they're prospective families, current families, staff, community members. So when you think about your content strategy throughout the year, you want to make sure you're serving all of these audiences, but during peak enrollment periods, definitely focus on prospective families.
Yeah, really good advice. And I'm curious, if once a school feels like they have a lot of those things set up, which, not to say your website is built and finished and then you never touch it again, right? It's always this sort of living entity that's being updated all the time. How can they measure whether all of those things are working to drive enrollment and generating the traffic that they want?
Yeah, that's tough because you put so much emphasis on like tracking Google Analytics, but that can be misleading sometimes. So you might look at those numbers and think you're succeeding, but you might not really know what is driving the enrollment and what behavior is happening on the websites. So one way to get a better source of what the measurement is to implement SMART goals. That stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So instead of setting up a measurable goal like increase enrollment, define something that is truly measurable, like increase the number of applications submitted through the website by 10% in the next 12 months. So it's a very tangible goal to measure. Other examples are application form completions, like how many forms are completed, how many are abandoned, information session registrations that come from your website, virtual tours that lead to scheduled visits, or contact form submissions from prospective families. So Google Analytics is, obviously the tool that you need, but you want to make sure that you create conversion tracking tags with Google Tag Manager, and then using heat map tools like Microsoft Clarity, which offers a lot of things on their free plan. It's a great tool.
Yeah.
Another thing, another thing to keep in mind is that these tools only give you quantitative data. So that's why you also want to make sure that you are speaking with families and students and getting that feedback about how they're actually using their site, because those numbers might not tell you the whole picture. Like, for instance, if you have high engagement time, maybe that's because they're lost and they can't find what they're looking for. So you want to make sure that you are also talking to folks, doing user testing, and also combining that with the numbers that you see.
Yeah. I mean, like anything, it's like a balance of using the data, but also talking to the human beings that are the users of your site.
Exactly.
So really great insights. I just want to take a quick pause and welcome those of you joining us a little after the top of the hour. We're here discussing how to create school websites that convert visitors into enrolled families. And you can catch all of our conversations, including several with Niki, with experts covering the biggest challenges facing school leaders right here on Tuesday Tips at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And all of our episodes also are up on our website if you want to take a peek at some of those other conversations we've had with Niki. Niki, you've given us such great tips so far. I know one thing that you've spoken with our audience in the past about is the importance of having a user-friendly website. So can you define what that means and what a user-friendly website is and how schools can achieve that?
Absolutely. So the simplest way to put it is that the most successful website focuses on how it works and how it makes people feel. As a designer myself, I am tempted to do the most beautiful things, put all the bells and whistles, but sometimes that's not worth the cost of keeping someone from finding the information they need. So you need to kind of balance that. So your navigation should help someone find their goals as quickly as possible. So you typically want to stay within 7 or fewer main menu items, making sure you use plain language instead of any kind of jargon. Make sure important information like calendars and contact details are no more than 1 to 2 clicks away. Mobile is also a really important consideration. Over 50% of school website traffic comes from mobile devices. So if your website works well on a smartphone, it will definitely work well everywhere else. So when thinking about the smaller screen, you want to ask yourself, what is the most important thing they see on this tiny screen first? Page speed is also important. 47% of visitors abandon their website if it takes more than 2 seconds to load. So you've got some critical time to make sure that information is front and center. Also, think about how these parents are looking at your site. They could be on their phones during their commute, well, they shouldn't be, but on lunch breaks, waiting in pickup lines. So they're multitasking as they're looking on your site. So you want to make sure everything is easy to understand and they can look at it at first glance. The enrollment application also has to be mobile friendly. You want to make sure you have easy buttons and easy to fill out form fields. So as you think about all this, it comes into this term that I call information architecture, which basically is how you organize and present your content, kind of like a blueprint to a house. So your information architecture balances your audience's needs and the school's goals. For instance, you might want to say, enroll now, because that's what schools want, but also think about the audience. They might not be ready to just enroll without having that information first. So make sure you balance the information they're looking for with what you'd like them to do. And of course, your the website should reflect your voice and your culture and your values. And you want to make sure you're including inclusive experiences and making sure that your site works for people of all abilities. So all these things come together, they make your site better for everyone, and a user-friendly website puts your families first.
Yeah. It seems like one of the good sort of like thought exercises is think about your own habits as you're navigating the web and what either annoys you or engages you, or, just kind of put yourself obviously in the shoes of the user and think about what that journey looks like. And that can really help inform some of the choices that you're making. So yeah, really, really great insights today. We like to keep these conversations as close to 10 minutes as possible. We had a lot to cover today. And I know you'll be joining us again, Niki, here in a couple Tuesday Tips sessions. So I want to thank you for everything that you shared. We're here again, Tuesdays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, discussing all the challenges facing school leaders. And as Niki mentioned, there's all sorts of resources, guides, other, blog posts and other materials that you can get over at growschools.com and check out our resource library for school leaders. So thanks again to Niki for being here and to everyone who joined us today, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much.